What is up, my people? Welcome back to the Jersey Fund, a sports gambling podcast. Another episode of Petey's Pastimes. Today, we are going to be talking about the Atlanta Braves. Before I jump into that, I do want to apologize to the listeners, not necessarily to Tyler Soderstrom here, who is actually one of my favorite types of ball players. I love the gritty dudes who find a way to hit the ball to all fields, typically do the right thing, can play a bunch of different positions. However, I'm out on Tyler Soderstrom this year. I did not get to that. I actually had it circled, highlighted, everything. He was going to be my guy to stay away from on that team on the Athletics. So Tyler Soderstrom, love you, man. I know our editor did a nice little spliff in there, kind of through a voiceover sort of thing, but just wanted to make it clear, out on Tyler Soderstrom in fantasy this year. He's getting some decent love, but it was really just from a month and a half of hitting nukes. You know, I hope he still is a 275, 280 hitter, but I see 15 to 20 home run tops kind of guy. He's not going to be in a prime RBI spot come, the middle to the end of the year, because he's not going to be that guy. It's going to be Rooker. It's going to be Langoliers. I think Muncy might be able to even slide up into that role a bit too. Obviously, Nick Kurtz. So, unfortunately, out on Soderstrom. So, just wanted to get that out there right now to the listeners. But now let's jump into the Braves. One of my favorite teams growing up. They had the Chipper Joneses, Mike Hampton, Greg Maddux, Marcus Giles, Edgar Renteria. We can go deeper and go into Matt Diaz, who had a month and was a dog. Ryan Langerhans, Jeff Francoeur. So, those were the old days. And now the Braves are pretty similar year over year. They really don't change much in their core, despite it never working. So with that being said, we're looking at a win total over-under of 88.5, and the 8th best World Series odds right now at plus 1,600. So certainly a contender in a lot of people's eyes. Obviously, you have the Dodgers up there number one, and then a bunch of teams kind of at that similar level, with the Braves being one of them at plus 1,600. So a lot of expectations for the team down in Atlanta, a lot of expectations for a lot of those teams out in the NL East, between the Phillies and the Mets. Even the Marlins have a little bit of hype around them. So I'm not as high on this Braves team. I think they should have done a little bit of turnover. I don't think they should have rode with the same old. They've had a couple of additions this offseason. They got Yaz coming in, Mike Yastrzemski. Shout out to the GOAT, his grandpa. And then you've got Robert Suarez coming over from San Diego. Decent setup man now, potentially, for Raisel Iglesias, who will probably lose his job. And then it'll be Suarez at some point, and then Suarez will lose a job, and it'll be Iglesias. Potential revolving door there. They've got a lot of other guys who have saved ball games of the bigs too, and Tyler Kinley, who's coming over from Colorado. Not a very fun one there. Came over mid-year last year. You got Aaron Bummer, who I always thought was going to be a freaking dog with the White Sox and never amounted to anything because he can't throw strikes in big spots. But my gosh, is he nasty. So the bullpen, I think, is going to hurt them. I think the rotation is actually going to hurt them at some point. No doubt about it, their big three is right up there with basically any other teams in Sale, Strider, and Ray Lopez. Big Reynaldo Lopez guy, too. Obviously, big Sale guy being ex-White Sox. Strider still flashes his moments, but my gosh, none of those three can stay healthy either. So if you're looking up in July and you see Bryce Elder starting a big game against Imai with the Mets, you're in trouble. And I could see that happening. So I think that rotation eventually crumbles a little bit for them. I don't think they hold it together long enough, and I don't think they have enough depth now that Schwellenbach and Smith-Straver are both out. I think Schwelly's going to be out for majority of this year, if not all of it. I think Smith-Straver is going to struggle to come back. I don't think he's going to be at 100% when he does. They've got Hurston Waldrep kind of waiting in the wings too, so maybe he gets a couple more shots, but they don't have a lot of depth. They don't have a lot of promising prospects. They've got a lot of 23 to 26-year-olds who are kind of waiting in the wings, but aren't really those number one type of guys because they've committed to this core on offense, which isn't bad. Acuna, obviously always going to be up there in the MVP race. He's third right now in the odds behind Shohei and Soto, but another guy who can't stay on the field. And then you've got the big bat of Matt Olson. I'm not as big of a fan of him as a lot of people are. I don't think there's a lot of promise to his game, a lot of boom or bust. Similar to a Pete Alonso type, so not really my favorite type of guy, especially not my favorite type of guy to have in that kind of two-hole range. So you got Austin Riley, very similar, trying to fill some holes with Drake Baldwin, Jurickson Profar, Ozzie Albies. Yaz, who we just mentioned, is probably going to be at the top of that lineup at times. They just signed Mauricio Dubon, who I like as a decent little ball player, can play every position on the field. But again, I don't think there's enough with this team to cover for what might happen in that rotation. Now, the beauty of it is they may have a bunch of free wins on their schedule when they get to play the Nats, who have negative pitching. Those games are going to be freaking shootouts. One of my best bets may actually be just the idea of hammering the over in any Atlanta Braves and Washington National game. I don't see those games staying low scoring very often. Those teams just don't have the pitching depth to be able to put together 9 innings of competent baseball. However, their offenses can pop it a little bit. So depending on who's healthy, depending on who's out there, I could see a lot of those overs. But at the end of the day, probably saw this coming. I don't see this team reaching the 89 win total. I really don't see them reaching much higher than 500. This offense is going to have to carry. This offense is going to have to stay healthy. Their big three is going to have to stay healthy. It's a lot of question marks, and I don't wish injuries upon anyone. It just so happens that all of these guys that we've kind of mentioned are known for getting hurt. So I don't think the Braves reach the 89 win total. I've got their under. I'm actually hammering their under. With that being said, I'm not taking them to win the World Series, especially not at those high of odds. I would just stay away from that. I realize I'm not going to be making many friends down in the ATL, but something's got to change. I think they've got to blow it up. I think they've got to do something different. They've got to bring in a little bit of fresh blood. They've got to get some youth in there because the window is closing fast anyways, and I think the window might have already closed for this Atlanta Braves team. So under 88.5 wins, not touching the World Series. And to be honest with you, I don't have a best bet player prop-wise for this team because I don't trust guys staying healthy. I just don't know who's going to be on the field for 160-plus games or 30-plus starts for this team. So my best bet is just that, the under 88.5 wins. I'm out on this Braves team. It's a tough division. Again, the Nationals are at least getting better on offense. The fish might be real. I like the Mets. I know the Mets, they can never do anything, but I do think they've made a lot of the right moves this offseason, and then the Phillies are still there at the top of this division, in my opinion. So, Braves under 88.5 total wins as my best bet for them. Hopefully, you guys are enjoying this series. Hopefully, you guys are following us on Twitter because we are still staying hot with college basketball best bets. We're going to be firing off all sorts of tweets probably about the Olympics at some point too. We got a lot of Olympic hockey this weekend. Super excited about that. Got some exciting tennis tournaments going on across the world as well, including one in Dallas. So a lot of good sports on still, even though we don't have football. And pitchers and catchers are firing it up, which fires me up. To wrap it all up too, keep your eyes out today for college baseball. College baseball opening day today. Gonna be a great weekend of sports. Gonna be a great weekend of gambling. Gonna be a great weekend of beers and banging deuces. And we are gonna have a great time together, winning money along the way, everyone. Deuces.